talks about the cause and prevention of pain. We're going to see how his system has changed many people's lives around the world. People who used to suffer with pain are now living a more active and happier life. If you have pain, tension, or stiffness, stay tuned. And now I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Michael Hogan. Hi, Dr. Hogan.
Hi, Lori. Great to be here.
Listen, I want to ask you, there are
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. During the declared emergency in the City of Toronto, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and a provincial order limiting attendance at public gatherings. This will be a virtual public hearing, and participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx, an online event that is being moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting either by their computer, phone, or tablet app, or by telephone. All participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Only the committee members will be participating by video. Any registered participants will be participating by audio only. We ask that you also mute your devices until you are called on to speak. And when you are called on to speak, please make sure that you only have one device on at the time to avoid any feedback problems. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto was covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Toronto is called to order. My name is Alan Smithies, and I will chair today's meeting. Joining us on the panel today are Giuseppe Bartolo, Nadini Sankar-Peralta, and Thomas Klassen. City staff are also present: Daniel Antonacci, Simon Lamb, Jenny Kotas, and Adam Wills. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to property, permission to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. Anyone in attendance today who wants to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address, because Committee of Adjustment and the T-Lab will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, T-Lab, or in some limited circumstances to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, LPAT. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the committee's decision. The hearing procedure is as follows. I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant will proceed with their presentation if required. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into the committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, is given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will tell you when you are reaching the 5-minute limit. The applicant or agent, when addressing the committee, please state clearly your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters described in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee of the application. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. In order to ensure that a revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the applicant are informed of the changes, the committee may decide to defer the application if it has been substantially revised. Then individuals, either in support or opposed to the application, are invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent has an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This marks the end of all discussion on the item. The application is taken into committee for a decision. Are there any committee members here today who have a conflict of interest they'd like to declare this afternoon? Oh, thank you very much. Now proceed to the first item on our afternoon agenda. It's 63 Dell Park Avenue, item number 11. And I have the agent here, Mr. Michael Cogan. Mr. Cogan, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Cogan, thank you for being here. I just wanted to ask, have you had the opportunity to read the city planning report of May 22nd?
I have.
And you're aware that they had no objection to the application, provided that you develop the property substantially in accordance with the site plan drawings?
Yes, we're okay with that.
Again, it's pretty clear what you're asking for in the 5 variances, sir. I'm just going to, I note we have no one here who is registered to speak on this item. I'll just ask the committee if it has any questions or comments, or would it like a presentation?
I missed the tail end of that, sorry.
Okay, just a second, sir. No? No need for a presentation? Okay, thank you. That being the case, we have no one registered to speak on this item. We have no negative comments from staff, so if I could get a decision on this application, please. Mr. Klassen?
I will move to approve this application and include the condition that it be developed substantially in accordance with the site plan and the east elevation and drawings that were prepared.
Okay, thank you. Someone to second Mr. Klassen's motion? Ms. Sankar seconds. All those in favor? That motion carries unanimously. Sir, your application has been unanimously approved, subject to city planning conditions.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item, now proceed to item number 12. We have, is it Mr. Zoran Turnanich there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, Mr. Turnanich, I have a, I'm just going to ask, have you had the opportunity to read the city planning report dated the 17th of June?
No, unfortunately, I was stuck in Europe and I didn't receive it. I just came back. I was stuck because of the coronavirus.
Okay, well, there's the, you should have taken the chance to take a look at what's in your file, because staff is recommending that the following variances be refused. Variance number 2 regarding front yard landscaping, and variance number 3 regarding the front yard soft landscaping. Have you, so let me just go here to the comments.
Recommended by doctors and users everywhere. A 20-minute treatment helps relieve the pain of stress, fibromyalgia, tension headaches, migraines, neck pain, back pain, hip pain.
So they had an issue with the amount of with the amount of landscaping you're proposing here, sir.
Yes, I was hoping that I just have to briefly explain what's happening. The owner of the house, Mr. Darshko Markovic, died a year and a half ago to heart failure, and his wife hired landscape contractors who was claiming that doing the driveway the way it was shown on permit drawings will definitely damage the trees. Those are the nicest trees on the street, 50-year-old mature trees, and she was not aware of the zoning issue, and she took his advice to move the driveway closer to the south property line. That was the reason why this was increased in area. I look at the issue of this, and I did some calculation. We can do some reduction. I have some numbers, but
the transportation services has no objections to your application. No. It's city planning.
Yeah, I know, but the issue is if you just drive around, you can see that there is almost every second driver is bigger than it was allowed, and I don't know how somebody has a driveway I measured some driveways 9 meters in width with the 3-car garages, and absolutely the landscaping. Some of the street you have 2 of them bigger than this one, and never mind the other area. If you just drive around, you can see. Driver, it's an area typical for the circular driver. Every third house has a circular driveway, And I don't see a big issue. However, it was done by mistake. I was not consulted. The owner approved the landscape decision, and we hope that the city will consider this as an honest mistake. And it's basically it's similar like many drivers in the area. I did some calculation. We can strip the boarding at the area, and I can only gain 10 square meters. Do you hear me?
Okay, thank you, sir. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? Mr. Klassen?
Yes, I have a question, because I did look as well, and there are many homes that have circular driveways on the street. So could you perhaps explain to me, if you know, why it seems that your particular driveway requires a variance?
It requires variance because the zoning allows only to, it requires that the landscape is 60%. And actually we come up with a 35. So it's significant, but as I said, most of the drivers are the same size. I don't see, every second driver is bigger than it should be. So I don't have exact numbers, but just by looking around and driving around, you can see that. And as I said, it was not done because the owner was greedy and wanted to have a big driveway. It was just an honest mistake, and it will be costly to repair this, even though the owner is wanted to cooperate. And if I strip the edges of the driveway, there is a border 60-inch wide around the edges. If I take this edge down, I can gain 10 square meters and improve some numbers. But basically, the look of the driveway will not look as nice as it is now, and the numbers will be increased, but visually, we won't gain much. So it's up to committee either to approve it or I have some numbers that I can come up with. So tell me if you want those new numbers, we can revise the driveway, or you give me variances for what is there right now.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions of the speaker? We have no one registered to speak on this item. So if I could get a motion on the application, please. Ms. Sankar? Ms. Sankar?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. There's an echo, I'm sorry. I've heard what he said. It's confirmed by my colleague, Mr. Klassen, that he's been around the neighborhood and he sees similarities in other homes. I don't have a problem with this. Transport doesn't have a problem with this, and there's no complaints from the neighbors, except you even have a letter of support. So with that, I'm motioning to approve this application as is.
Okay, thank you. Someone to second Ms. Sankar's motion? Mr. Klassen seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? Mr. Bartolo dissenting. Sir, your application has been approved without condition.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next one is item number 13, 601 Vesta Drive.
Mr. Chair and members, Sally Karam will actually be the representative for this file. She's ready to speak.
Okay, thank you. Can you, hello, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you.
Have you, can I get your full name and address, please?
My name is Sally Karam, and I'm the owner of 601 Vesta Drive.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to ask if you had an opportunity to see the 22nd of May City Planning Report.
Yes, I did.
And they had a recommendation there that if the application is approved, that you provide permanent opaque screening or fencing along the west edge of the proposed rear deck with a minimum height of 1.5 meters from the floor.
Yes, we're happy to comply with that.
Okay, thank you. We have 3 variances before us. It's pretty clear what you're asking for. It's also, we have no one has scheduled to depute on this item. So unless, does the committee have any questions or would like a presentation? Okay, that being the case, could I get a motion on the application, please? Mr. Bartolo?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to put forward a motion to approve this application with the requirement that the applicant provide 1.5 meter opaque screening along the western edge of the elevated platform.
Okay, thank you. Someone to second Mr. Bartolo's motion? Ms. Sankar seconds. All those in favor? That motion carries. Your application has been unanimously approved, subject to the city planning conditions.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item number 14, 73 Heathview Avenue. We have Martin Rendell. Mr. Rendell, are you there?
Yes, I am, sir.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Rendell, before you start, can I get your full name and address, please?
Sure. Martin Rendell, R-E-N-D-L, 35 Delburn Drive, D-E-L-B-U-R-N, in Toronto.
Okay, thank you, sir. I just wanted to say, have you had the chance to look at the city planning report dated June 17th?
I have. I've read the report. I agree with their planning conclusion.
Yes, you have no, yeah.
As well. The recommended condition.
Yeah, that's the recommended condition, that you develop in accordance with the sidewall height dimensions illustrated on the south and north side elevation drawings attached to the report.
Yeah, we're in agreement with that condition.
Okay, thank you. I'll just ask the committee, we have no one scheduled to depute on this application, so I'll just ask the committee if it has any questions or comments or it would like a presentation. Could I get a motion on this application, please? Ms. Sankar?
Seeing that there's no one to contest and it seems very simple, I do believe it meets the 4 tests. I'll put forward a motion to approve this application subject to the staff conditions of the July 7th staff report, that the proposal be developed in accordance with sidewall height dimensions illustrated on the south and north side elevation drawings.
Thank you very much. Someone to second Ms. Sankar's motion? Mr. Klassen seconds. All those in favor? That motion carries unanimously. Sir, your application has been unanimously approved, subject to city planning conditions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 15, 7 Lyric Lane. Is the, I noticed that we have one person registered to speak. That's the agent, Mr. Stephen Key. Am I saying that correctly?
Stephen Chi, yes, that's correct.
Yes, thank you, sir. Are you there? Oh, you're there. Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to, pretty clear what you're asking for in the variances we have before us. We have no staff conditions or recommended conditions on this application. No objections from staff. Just going to ask the committee if it would like a presentation or it has any questions. Okay, we have, again, we have no one scheduled to depute on this item. If I could get a motion on the application, please.
I can move
Mr. Klassen?
that, yes, I will move that the application be approved.
Thank you. Someone to second Mr. Klassen's motion? Mr. Bartolo seconds. All those in favor? That motion carries. Thank you very much, sir. Your application has been unanimously approved without condition.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 16, 9 MAROWYNE Drive.
Yes.
Again, is,
hello?
Yes, hello. Are you Ms. Liang? Liang?
Yeah, this is
Yes,
Liang.
you're the agent. Thank you, madam. Just going to ask, pretty clear what you're asking for in the variances we have, but 7 variances we have before us. So I'll just ask the committee, does it require a presentation or have any questions? Okay, thank you. Yeah, again, there are no recommended staff conditions, and there's no letters of objections from staff, so if I could get a motion on this application, please? Mr. Bartolo?
Mr. Chair, I move that this application be approved.
Okay, thank you. Someone to second Mr. Bartolo's motion? Ms. Sankar seconds. All those in favor? That motion carries unanimously. Sir, your application has been unanimously approved.
Thank you so much.
I'm sorry, madam, your application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. Now, item number 17, 575 Bedford Park Avenue. Is the agent there, Mr. Navid Arbabi?
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
Yes, thank you, sir. I just wanted to ask, can I get your full name and address first, please?
Yes, my name is Navid Arbabi. I'm the agent on behalf of the owners. Address is 2017 Avenue Road, North York.
Okay, thank you, sir. I just wanted to have you seen the city planning report of May 22nd, where
Yes, we have.
staff is recommending that the variance number 5 with respect to the lot coverage not exceed 35%. And you were...
yes, we have.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Yes, we have seen the report, and I'm ready to go over the details of the proposed variances.
Okay. So are you proposing to reduce variance number 5?
Yes.
Okay, so would you like to modify that condition, modify that request then?
Yes, but I would like to go, if it's okay with you guys, I would like to do a presentation to explain the variances and then the reasoning behind the reduction.
We can do that, sir. I just wanted to just state up front that you're making that change to variance number 5, so that right now it reads the proposed lot coverage is 39.4% of the lot area, and you're proposing to change it to the proposed lot coverage is 35% of the lot area. Is that correct?
No, we're proposing 37.4.
Okay, all right then.
Mr. Chair, members, if the applicant could go forward and read any changes from item number 1 to the end into the record first, and then do the presentation, that would be great.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Sir, if you want to give us a presentation then on what you see as the merits of your proposal. I notice we have 2 other deputies scheduled to appear on this item, to speak on this item. So if you'd like to make a presentation, sir.
Okay, so yes, we do have 2 of the neighbors on both sides actually here today. Thank you for being here. We do have some letters of concern in regards to this project, and we've actually addressed all of them. The 2 neighboring sides that the owners were able to reach some sort of a conclusion are both here to express their concerns and actually discuss the resolutions they've reached, and hopefully mention that they do not have an issue with the proposal. The only change we're proposing is to variance number 5 in regards to the lot coverage. We are reducing it to 37.4%. We did submit a letter to committee in regards to the variances proposed, so I would like to go over each variance one by one very quickly. Variance number 1, if you go in the neighborhood, you will notice that the majority of the houses have a garage and then the first floor, second floor, and most of the houses actually have a balcony built on top of the garage. This is very visible, and we've done a study all throughout. So if you look at the report that we gave you from page 7 all the way to page 12, you'll see that this is about a 150-meter walk on Bedford Park Avenue only. And you will see that so many houses have this look, and we're just trying to maintain that look. That's why we do have the front porch at 2.28 meters above the established average grade. Number 2, in regards to the maximum height, we are proposing 9.25 meters. And as you guys know, this is under the flat roof bylaw. Should we have gone with a slope roof, we would be allowed up to 10 meters. We've spoken to both neighbors on both sides, and we've explained the difference between these 2 calculations, and they're both fine with it. I would like to mention that the 9.25 meters is measured to the peak of the roof, and the actual sidewall heights are at 9.08 meters. And as you guys know, we could have proposed the slope roofs on the sides, do the trick, and just propose one variance where we have a main wall height variance. But we don't want to do that. We do not want to create an awkward shape with the slope roofs or modern house on the sides and then end up with awkward bedrooms. There is actually the one that you're showing, these are the elevations that we submitted originally, but if you go to the letter, the last 2 pages, actually the last page of the letter submitted, we have done a comparison of what it would look like should we have gone with a 10-meter allowable versus a flat roof that we're proposing now. In regards to the building length, so we're proposing 19 meters. The 19 meters, the physical length of the house is actually 16.72. So the way it's calculated, it's because the front yard setback, that this property in specific has a very limited setback from the property line. And we had to shift the house slightly further back to allow for a long enough driveway and actually be almost in line with the existing house. So the bylaw would require us to build a little further out, but we wanted to push the house a little further back to be more in line. That's why that imaginary setback line is where it is, and it's calculated, the length is calculated from that line. So the actual house is only 16.72, and we do have a 1.66 meter one-story extension at the back towards the west side of the house. Which actually is 5.8 meters in height. So it's 1 story, not 2 stories. Variance number 4, we're proposing a side yard setback of 0.9 meters on the west side only, where the allowable is 1.2. Now, these setbacks are very common, and this is to allow for a 2-car garage that actually fits 2 cars rather than just 1 car with the bins. And as you guys already know, on a 40 feet wide lot, it's very common to have 1.2 and 0.9. We've done a study in the entire neighborhood of just 3-4 streets, and we've gotten so many examples of very same proposals and approvals have been built, and they by no means do they take away from the streetscape. One thing to do mention is the existing side yard setback on that side is 0.02 meters. So it's literally on the property line. And we've spoken to the neighbors of 577, and they know this because even the eaves of the existing house extend into the property. In regards to the coverage
Sir, can you
variance,
summarize, please?
Yes, so the coverage of 39.4. Another thing to mention is, again, the coverage is calculated based on the porch area and that setback. So we are losing a little bit that doesn't exist.
Thank you.
So we are reducing it to 37.4 to be more in keeping with the required. Thank you.
We have 2 other speakers, 2 other deputants who have registered to speak. First one is a Robert Glickman. Sir, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Glickman, you have the airwaves if you want to give us your views on the topic.
Yes, I would like the committee to know that my wife and I have made an agreement.
Sir, you have to speak up. We're having trouble hearing you.
My wife and I have made an agreement on a number of our concerns with the applicant and the builder. However, the committee, but these are our concerns. And since the committee is aware of the bylaws, we leave the decision to the members.
I'm sorry, sir, I can't hear what exactly your concern was.
Our concerns, do you want to know about the agreement that we reached with them?
Sir, if you have an agreement with the neighbor, that's a private matter between you and your neighbor, not with us.
That's correct. So I leave the committee to make the decision among its members.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions of the speaker? Okay, thank you. Next speaker is a Mr. Raymond Sklar, are you there?
Mr. Chair and committee members, Raymond is connected to WebEx, but he has not authorized the use of his microphone. I have let him know 3 times now that he should log out and log back in if he'd like to speak, but at this time he has not done that.
Okay.
And the number that he provided to call has not been called in on either.
Okay, so we'll take him off the list. All right then, Mr. Arbabi, are you there?
So I would like to mention that we have reached a resolution with number 573.
Okay,
They did submit a letter.
Okay, Mr. Arbabi, you heard that there was one speaker, Mr. Glickman. Did you have any comments on what Mr. Glickman said?
So yes, we have reached a resolution with number 573, Mr. Glickman, and he did submit a letter to committee this morning, but I believe it was too late, where he did mention that the concerns have been resolved. They've been able to sign an agreement with the owner, and to be honest, most of the concerns have been regarding construction, and that's why he's saying with the zoning, they leave it up to you. And we have actually made an agreement to do similar, very significant improvements on their property, because it is an older property. And on the other side, Mr. Raymond is actually communicating with me through email. I'm not sure why he's having difficulty connecting. So he is also withdrawing his concern after we had spoken several times, and he can write to the committee again. And yeah, because he did write a letter before, and they wanted to express that they have but we have been able to resolve the concerns with them. And I'm not sure why at this moment we cannot talk to him, because it would have been a great help. We did meet with the other neighbors as well, and everybody seems to be okay with it.
Okay, thank you. Just ask the committee, does it have any questions of the speaker? Okay, there being none, could I get a motion on this application, please? Please just let us, I'm sorry, Ms. Sankar, just remember that it should be on the revised application. Variance number 5 has been changed so that the lot coverage has been reduced from 39.4% to 37.4%.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, my motion is different from that.
Okay.
I'm in agreement with the staff report, and I'd like to uphold that. So I will be making a motion to approve the application, but it will be subject to the staff report in that the lot coverage is no more than 35%.
Okay, so
And
you're proposing that variance number 5 should be 35% instead of 39.4%. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Sankar, is someone to second Ms. Sankar's motion? Mr. Klassen seconds. All those in favor? That motion carries. Sir, your application has been approved, but with variance number 5 changed so that it reads the lot coverage is now going to be 35% instead of 39.4%. So the proposed lot coverage, the approved lot coverage is now 35%, not 37.4. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, item number 18, 42 Stewart Crescent. We have the agent, Mr. Saeed Mahboubi. I hope I've said that right.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to ask, have you had the opportunity to see the city planning report of the 23rd of June?
Yes, I did, sir.
Are you aware that they're recommending your application be refused?
Yes.
Okay, well, I suggest you give a presentation to the committee and you indicate to us, I would presume that you're not in favor of city planning's recommendation, so if you could give us a presentation on why you think we should not recognize city planning's recommendation.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. I'm a member of the Committee Adjustment. My name is Saeed Mahboubi. Address is 1670 Bayview Avenue, Suite 302. We have an email communication with the city planner, and they are fine with the 32%. as the counselor, is a vocal in the 32% too, and we have the letter from the Ratepayer Association that they are in favor of 32%, and I talked to my clients and asked them, that 35% based on their planning comment is too high for the neighborhood, and they are willing to modify that lot coverage to 32%, which is, within the same character of the neighborhood. But on the presentation that I submitted in the application file with the committee adjustment, I explained that in the location map that we prepare, the lot, the 42 Crescent, 42 STUART Crescent is the smallest lot, on the neighborhood. If you can see, the location map with the other approval that we have.
Okay, you're aware that in the staff report, they're indicating that the coverage that you're proposing to ask for is considerably higher than what is in the prevailing characteristics of the neighborhood. I presume you've read their report?
Correct. And we're gonna modify that, if the committee agree with that one, to 32% to keep the same character of the neighborhood.
Are you proposing to change one of your variances?
Correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay, which one do you want to change?
The variance number 1 regarding the lot coverage.
Okay.
Instead of 30% lot coverage permitted, we're gonna modify to 32%.
To which?
32.
So you're reducing it from 35.16% to 32?
Correct, that's correct.
Okay, now does that affect any of the other variances?
No, sir.
Okay, and they also had an issue with the height.
Yeah.
Would you like to address that issue?
Yes, I have a presentation regarding the height. If you can see my presentation.
Okay, well, you have 2.5 minutes, so you can tell us about why we should approve the height.
Because the flat, my presentation, is I put it, the height that we allowed, for the slope roof. If you have a mansard roof, which 10 meter, on top of the roof with a side wall of 7.5 meter. Our proposed flat roof is sitting within that and is fit with the character of the neighborhood, because the 7.2 meter for the flat roof is a majority of the 8.5 meter of the slope roof. But in that area, in that neighborhood, the maximum height allowable for the slope roof is 10 meter. And we are within the our flat roof, proposed flat roof is within the allowable slope roof. And number 21, Stuart, is already has a flat roof and just across the street, and they approved for 8.9 meter, and we are similar to that 8.86 meter.
Okay, thank you.
And we believe that.
Okay, thank you. Does the
and
committee
we believe
have
that
any? Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? No, thank you. We have one other person registered to depute on this item, a Ms. Yvette Morelli. Are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, madam. Thank you. You have the airwaves. If you'd like to give us your views on this particular application, this revised application, the applicant is now proposing to reduce the coverage from 35.16% to 32%.
Okay, I mean, that's great. I like it keeping with the neighborhood. I'm just curious though, the representative said it's the smallest lot. It's the same size lot as our house. We're 5 by 100. So, yeah, I mean, that's neither here nor there. We actually spoke to the owners, and my biggest concern was because the house was so big, that, you know, it extended into our property, and on the south side, there was sliding doors and a balcony, and then there was a window below that, which would be directly overlooking our terrace. And the owners have agreed to remove that sliding door, the balcony, and to make the window below opaque. So we said that if they do that, then we won't oppose what they're doing. But I still wanted to be on the call because I was, you know, out of, you know, interest in seeing what, you know, the view of the city was on this. But I will, if, you know, they've agreed to do that. So provided they do that, that addresses our privacy concerns.
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, we'll take this matter into committee. Can I get a motion on this application, please? Thank you, Ms. Sankar. And remember, this is a revised application.
Right, yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Any private agreement that the debutante had with the applicant, it's now publicly heard. So we're not able to talk to that, but you know, it's being recorded. My motion today will be on the application that's before me. And with that, I'll motion to approve the application. I'm satisfied with the reduction of the lot coverage, which is variance number 1 to 32%. That should satisfy all other concerns that may have been expressed. And yeah, I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Someone to second Ms. Sankar's motion on this revised application? Mr. Klassen seconds. All those in favor? That motion carries unanimously. Sir, your revised application has been unanimously approved without condition.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We are now on item number 19, 227 Strathallan Wood.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes,
It's
Mr.
Glenn
Rubinoff.
Rubinoff. Yep.
Can I get your name and address, please?
Yes, it's Glenn Rubinoff, 697 Mount Pleasant Road, Toronto.
Okay, thank you, sir. I just wanted to ask, I'm sure you've seen the May 22nd report from City Planning. It has
Yes.
indicated that you were going to make some modifications to your application.
Yes, we did, and I can go through those with you.
Yeah, if you could walk us through those, please.
Okay, so variance number 5.
Okay.
Building height has been reduced from 10.9 to 10.3 meters.
Okay.
Sorry, let me just, yeah. Variance number 6, the height of the rear exterior main wall reduced from 9.78 to 9.14.
Okay, to 9 point which?
9.14.
Okay.
That's for variance number 6.
Okay.
Variance number 8. Variance number 8.
Okay.
The area of the third floor platform reduced from 29.5 meters squared to 10 meters squared.
To 10 meters squared. Okay.
Yeah. And variance number 9.
Okay.
The old bylaw calculation of height has been reduced from 11.08 to 10.48.
Okay.
That's what we presented to staff, and they were satisfied with that, with those changes.
Now,
with regards.
it's my understanding, you know, that they still want to refuse variance number 7 regarding the proposed number of stories.
Yes, yes. Now there are.
Well,
I mean, there are.
You know what we can do, sir? I just wanted to go through all the staff stuff so that we can get that out of the way.
Sure.
Just a moment here. And then if they, the final recommendation from City Planning was that if we choose to approve it, that you provide permanent opaque screening or fencing along the west edge of the proposed rear deck with a minimum height of 1.5 meters.
Yes, that's
okay,
correct.
All right then, thank you. if you could give us a presentation then, sir, on what you see as the merits of your revised application.
Sure. So we submitted with our application some additional materials. One of them is an area map, which shows some of the redevelopment in the area on the street and on adjacent streets in the area. We have an application for a new home. When we designed it, we looked at it from working from a more of a traditional, not a contemporary, but more of a traditional design home. There are homes in the area which are 3-story. There's a variety of styles and a variety of footprints. Some traditional, some a little more contemporary. We tried to do something that's more, fit into the character of the area in terms of the style. The variances that we're proposing, some of them have to do with the chimney breast on the side, the roof eaves encroaching slightly into the side yard setback. So, overall, a lot of the variances deal with minor elements of it. We did make these adjustments to the variances because of our discussions with city planning. We wanted to try to work with them and see what we could do. For instance, variance number 1, west side yard setback for the rear platform. We requested 1.2 instead of the required for the 1.8. The architectural detail, encroaching 0.82 into the required side yard. There's a number of things. The first 4 variances really deal with a lot of smaller details. Overall, we don't have any variance for lot coverage. Our building length, we don't have a variance for that. So, it's kind of a mix of what we do have, what we don't have. But we did look in the area, and part of the map that we had done was to study and see what was available there. There have been 2 houses on the street approved at the committee for 3-story homes. And there's also, but we're also respectful to the point where we were in discussions with the neighbor, and we actually did a shadow study to show the impact, and that's part of your submissions in there. If you've looked at it, it's a long document, so I wouldn't, it's not something to look at right now because it's quite a bit, but we did look at the impact, and the impact when we went through it is minimal on the neighbor. So we're mindful of where we are and how we fit on the lot and in the area. We're also further away from both sides from the existing house. So the existing house, which will be demolished, is quite a bit closer to the property line than what we're proposing. So from the perspective of size and massing, I feel that it does fit in to the area. We are mindful of the setbacks. We don't have a setback issue for front yard, and of course rear yard is also fine. We made adjustments to some of the size of the terrace on the 3rd floor. So I feel like the revised plans that we have submitted are in keeping with redevelopment in the area. And I'll leave it there because I believe you might have some speakers who want to.
Okay, thank you, sir. I just wanted to ask, with respect to the issue of 3 stories, I noticed that when I was up there in that neighborhood, on that particular street, there are a number of properties that are already effectively 3 stories. Am I correct, or am I missing something?
That's correct.
There's at least 5 of them that I counted.
Yep.
Okay, all right, thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? Okay, there being none, we have 2 deputants registered. Mr. David McCarthy, are you there?
I am, thank you.
Yes, Mr. McCarthy, can I get your full name and address, please?
Yes, my name is David Ross McCarthy, and I live at 220 Strathallan Wood.
Great, thank you, sir. You have the airwaves.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. My wife Kathleen and I have lived with our children at 220 Strathallan Wood for almost 15 years now. I am here today to object to a request for variance in the zoning bylaw by the new owners of 227 Strathallan Wood. Quite simply, the plans as presented are out of character with the neighborhood, and the height of the proposed building would negatively affect the fabric of our street. And I will say I'm differentiating between Strathallan, our street, and some of the other streets in the neighborhood, which have had more construction. Having reviewed the list of 9 requested variances and having studied the plans which have been submitted, including as amended, I am concerned that the size of the house simply will not fit into the fabric and character of the neighborhood. Having regard to the variance requested, I'm specifically objecting to the request for a 3-story structure. I'll come back to that point shortly. B, that the height of the rear exterior wall, which has now been requested at 9.14 meters, is significantly above the bylaw, which is limited to 7.5 meters. That the proposed height of the house, which is now at 10.48, is significantly over the bylaw permit of 8.8 meters. And that the 3rd story area, which is now at 10.4 square meters, is significantly more than the permitted 4.0 square meters. As for the 3 stories in the neighborhood, for the area that effectively is the old North York City bylaw, I would note that I believe all of the houses fall into 3-story permit as because of pre-existing non-conforming use dating back to the pre-1952 bylaw. I know mine is one of those houses. I'm not aware of any new builds on our street that have 3 stories. And I do believe that a new 3-story build of the height that is being requested will look far out of character with the neighborhood. I would also note that, as I said in my letter, I'm just questioning the lot coverage for the proposed dwelling is set at 36.3%, where the permitted coverage is 35%. I know the last owner submitted a notice of request for variance, which he was given the 36.3%. That house was not built, and that request for variance was based on plans which had what I would describe as much more minimal variances. So I do question why, in fact, we're not going back to the 35% coverage for this property, having regard to the new house that's being built on a property for which the variance was given for a house which was not built. There's some other questions I had regarding the old request for variance in 2018 as compared to this one, and why there are differences, but I'll leave it to the committee to consider that. So in effect, and when I, based on the committee stated criteria, and when taken collectively, most, if not all, of the requested variance, to me, would appear to fail to meet the requirements of the variance are minor, that they are desirable for the neighborhood, that they maintain the general intent and purpose of the city's zoning code and bylaws, and that they maintain the intent and purpose of the city's official plan. Finally, I would note that I believe there are 9 letters of objection that have been submitted, and only 2 in support. And of the 2 that are in support, 1 is in respect to the neighbor who is now living in the house, and the other is a builder who's bought the property beside myself. Anyway, I would leave it to the discretion of the committee, but I do not feel that the height and the size of the property is in keeping with the fabric of the neighborhood and the street. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Any questions of the speaker? Okay, thank you. Our next deputant is Richard. Richard, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, can I get your full name and address, please?
Yes, sir. It's Richard Barry Bradlow, and I live at 225 Strathallan Wood. I'm the immediate neighbor to the east to the subject property.
Okay. Please proceed.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to address the committee. I just want to state up front that I recognize that new construction is inevitable and generally beneficial to the neighborhood. And I also want to note that I certainly want a warm, friendly relationship with my new neighbor as I have with many, many other people on the block. But I would like to note that my new neighbor has not knocked on my door, introduced himself, or given me the courtesy to review the plans before they were submitted to the city on a very tight timeline. I had to search for his contact information to start a dialogue. I received a letter from the city informing me of his plans with 6 days to the deadline to submit any objections and comments. And as I'm not a home builder, and in fact know nothing about the process of zoning and variances, I've had to learn very fast. My perspective is a simple one. When one selects a neighborhood and buys a home in the city, I think one should be able to rely on the zoning framework and the general enforcement of those rules, and that variances should be truly minor and necessary. What we have here is not that. The requests are material and are designed to maximize the size and value of the home from what I deeply suspect is a quick sale to another buyer. There is absolutely no reason, as your own city staff have clearly noted in their report, to permit a third floor with significant height beyond the current zoning limit. The examples cited by Mr. Rubinoff are not true third floors. They are what I would call, and it may be the wrong term, small attic rooms within the roofs of normal height and dimension. Your staff have noted themselves, and I quote, that the third floor would be destabilizing to the character of the neighborhood. That is from the city staff. Nor is there any reason to permit the rear of the home to be higher and deeper into the lot than the rules specify. As the immediate neighbor, I would like to point out that the proposed plans would materially obstruct sunlight and reduce privacy in my backyard, which has a pool, and is the most enjoyed element of my home. The report submitted by Mr. Zeeves' architect on this matter is not adequate in my view for two reasons. First, I believe the author of the report is clearly conflicted. I would value higher an independent report. And secondly, it provides no information on the change in shadow conditions caused by the build. It only provides the post-build outcome. And even with these limitations, it's my belief that the change in sunlight in my backyard is material. With respect to the setbacks on the immediate property line between our homes, I asked the committee to enforce reasonable setbacks of at least 1.2 meters. And I ask this because within the last year and a half, I've spent $100,000 fixing waterproofing and basement leakage issues on the property line. And I don't want excavation or new build elements close enough to my home to cause damage. I've taken advice from several construction experts, and they believe that this danger is real. Finally, I'd like to build on Mr. McCarthy's point about the submissions that this committee has before it. By my count on your website, there were 12 sincerely written and detailed objections submitted by long-term residents of the neighborhood. Of the 4 letters of support that I counted, which were all one-sentence form letters, I believe you should put no weight on 3 of them. One is from a spec builder who bought a lot across the road and has a clear quid pro quo arrangement with my neighbor. The other is from a neighbor who too is building a home and is in fact renting Mr. Zeeves' home for below market rent right now, and has provided a letter of support dated January 8th, which is before they could have even possibly reviewed the plans. And the third is too far away, I believe, to have any bearing on the issues. In conclusion, I respectfully and simply ask the committee to enforce the current rules and reject all of the variance requests. It is truly disappointing, and it would be truly disappointing and unnecessary to introduce an oversized home into what is a beautiful, peaceful street with a coherent design and ambiance. Thank you very much. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to have addressed the committee.
Thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, we'll go back to the agent, Mr. Rubinoff. You have the opportunity to address the concerns raised by the previous speakers.
Sure, thank you. There was a question about the third floor being a full third floor, that he said other ones on the street were partial third floors. This is a partial third floor that we're doing, built into the roof. So it's no different than other ones which were built on the street He said there was no homes that went before committee, that they were all pre-existing the bylaw. 207 Strathallan Wood went through the committee and was approved for a 3-story. And 146 is also a 3-story that went, it was an addition, but it was an addition, and it has a 3-story as well. And there are other ones that are pre-existing on the street. So I'm not sure I understand the argument about not having 3 stories when so many of them do, that there are, not just on the street, because this is not just about, this is a neighborhood. So, you know, on Lytton and other streets, there are several homes also in the same bylaw, in the same area, having 3-story and similar type things. We did reduce several of the variances with regards to height and impact, and we did look at it. As you can see from the elevation here, the 3rd floor is built into the roof. It's 2 rooms and a bathroom up there. It's not a full 3rd floor, and we did bring the height down to the new bylaw height of 10.3, which is about a foot over the bylaw. So it's not a significant difference from what the bylaw you know, has in place. We do have 4 letters of support. I'm not going to go into how and who they are. We have addresses and letters of support from 4 neighbors. Supposing why or who they are is not, you know, I'm not sure why that was brought up as an issue. But you know, indeed, the variances before you, I believe, are reasonable. They do, this house does fit into the area. There was some discussion with the next door neighbor, some extensive discussions about doing a study and you know, so it's not like they were unaware of what was going on here. I do respect city staff's concerns with regards to, they have a concern about the 3rd story. I spoke to my client and he agreed if that is something that the committee has difficulty with, he can live without that 3rd story. Okay, but I wanted to, you know, say that in my opinion, it fits into the area because it's part of the roof. You can have either a volume of roof trusses, or you can have a couple of rooms up there, and that's what it is. But I do, like I said, I do respect. We tried to work with the city in terms of reducing things to minimize impacts, and we satisfied their concerns. The only item that was left over was that 3rd floor, and if that's something that you feel is appropriate to remove, then we would be okay with that. That's all my comments.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rubinoff. I wanted to ask, is the basement considered the first, is the basement considered the 1st floor?
No, no.
All right. All right, thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, if I could get, we'll take the matter into committee. Could I get a motion on this application, please? On this revised application. Please note that variance number 5, and let's just go through them to make sure we've got them correct. Variance number 5, which relates to maximum height, the applicant's proposing to change the proposed height from 10.9 meters to 10.30. Variance number 6, which is the height of the rear exterior main walls, which he was originally asking 9.78, he's now requesting 9.14. Variance number 8, which relates to the proposed area of the 3rd story platform, which was previously requesting 29.5 square meters, he's now asking 10 square meters. And lastly, variance number 9, where the proposed building height was originally 11.08 meters, he's now asking 10.48. So those are the revisions that he worked out with planning, and that he has now modified his application, but it's still at a 3-story building. So if I could get a motion on this application, please. Ms. Sankar?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you and just listening to both sides of this matter and seeing the changes that were made by Mr. Rubinoff today, I appreciate that. I still don't feel that there is evidence enough. Sometimes it is the street that you have to look at, you know, as well as the entire neighborhood to determine character. And it's always a fickle little game with that in terms of interpretation. For this, because you've said that the owners may be okay with the staff report, you know, refusing variance number 7, I'm going to make a motion to approve this application with the changes you've made here today, such that variance number 5 is reduced to 10.3 meters, variance number 6 is reduced to 9.14 meters, variance number 8 becomes 10.0 meters squared, and then variance number 9 is now 10.48 meters. I'm going to also tie it to the staff report requesting that you provide permanent opaque screening or fencing along the west edge of the proposed rear deck with a minimum height of 1.5 meters. And I'm also going to ask that variance number 7 be refused.
Okay,
That's my
thank you.
motion.
Can I get someone to second Ms. Sankar's motion? Mr. Klassen seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? Mr. Bartolo dissenting. Sir, your application has been approved with the exception of variance number 7 relating to the number of stories, which has been, that variance has been refused. The other variances, however, have been approved, your revised variances, as well as the condition that you provide permanent opaque screening or fencing along the west edge of the proposed rear deck with a minimum height of 1.5 meters from the floor. Okay, thank you, Mr. Rubinoff.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We're now on to last item of the day, 36 Parklea Drive.
Hello?
Okay, as the, let me see here. Mr. Sharples, are you there? Kevin Sharples?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask, have you had the opportunity to see the staff report from Transportation Services dated the 22nd of June?
Yes, I have.
They were asking that you defer the application so that you can revise the front yard parking.
Yes, if you don't mind, I did review that staff report, and I had some correspondence directly with the staff who wrote the report, and it was a clerical error. There was a 100 millimeter clerical issue, so about 4 inches, and we sent back a revised plan, which has been deposited in the documents, and we got correspondence back from the staff report that was no longer that we are not requesting a variance essentially for the size of the parking pad. That was just simply an error. And they also provided some clarity on their comment regarding the 1 meter, which I think wasn't clear in their staff report, and provided some clarity, but basically said that there was no variance required.
Okay, thank you. If I remember going by the property, it's your driveway is right up against the property line. It's been like that for many years, hasn't it?
Yeah. So the driveway, the proposed location of the parking pad is in the exact location that it currently is, and we have no objections from anybody around us.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. I'm just going to. So I take it you don't want to defer your application, that you've already dealt with the issues with Transportation Services according to your discussions with us?
Absolutely, I don't want to defer.
Okay, all right, thank you. I notice that we have no one here who has scheduled to depute on this item. The variances you're asking for are pretty clear. I'll just ask the committee if it has any questions or comments or it would like a presentation. Ms. Sankar?
I don't need a presentation, but I heard you say that you had there were some changes that were made, and I want to make sure, do we have the right copy of the variances? You know, I have from variances 1 through till 8. And were there any changes to that whatsoever through you, Mr.
No.
Chair? I'm not sure.
Would you like my, yeah, so sorry. The changes that were made were clerical, and so when we sent it back with the revised site plan, it did not change any of the variances for the building or construction. It was simply just, it was listed at 2.5 by the architect, and unfortunately it's meant to be 2.6, and so there are no changes.
All right, thanks. So the bottom line is, sir, is any changes you made to satisfy transportation services do not affect the variances you have before the committee?
Agreed, yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Any further questions of the speaker? There being none, again, we have no speakers scheduled to depute on this item. It's very clear what the applicant is requesting. Can I get a motion on this application, please? Ms. Sankar?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. I've looked through the application as well. I do believe it meets the 4 tests, so I'll put forward a motion to approve this application. It will be subject to forestry.
Great, thank you. Someone to second Ms. Sankar's motion? Mr. Bartolo seconds. All those in favor? That motion carries unanimously. Sir, thank you very much. Your application is approved without condition. Thank you. Oh, pardon me, with the forestry condition.
Okay, oh, sorry, can you just clarify that?
Let's say it's a matter of you have to go see urban forestry and get a permit for tree protection.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, have a good.
Okay, can I get a motion to terminate? Thank you, Ms.
Okay.
Sinclair. Okay, seconded. I'll second that. Thank you. We're done. Thank you very much, folks.
Okay.
Enjoy your day.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Good
Bye-bye,
job.
everyone.
Good job.
Take care, folks.
Bye, Al.